And gold dropped 2.3% on the week, continuing its post-Trump pullback, going below 2,600. Silver was down 1.4% on the week. Silver has been holding up better than gold during this sell-off, and it has been holding the $30. It did briefly trade below it, but it closed the week at about $30.18. Remember, I said that I thought $30 silver was like $2,000 gold, and I think that's kind of the support, and it certainly is looking like it because it's holding up with the gold sell-off. Of course, fool's gold, aka Bitcoin, went in the opposite direction. Bitcoin, I'm looking at the Bitcoin ETFs. They were up about 11% on the week. Bitcoin itself is trading above 90,000. In fact, I think it's above 91,000, almost 92,000. So this is record territory. Not yet record territory in gold terms, I don't think. I gotta do the math.
Silver and its never-ending demand prospects. Global demand to reach new heights. Industrial demand is at the center of the change in the supply and demand landscape. They believe that by the end of 2024, industrial consumption will have reached 700 million ounces this year. This would represent a 7% increase the electrification of everything from solar panels to electric vehicles, being major drivers of this demand. It is because of this that silver stands out as the metal whose uses seem to constantly grow. Silver jewelry in all markets is expected to grow, no doubt supported as well by the meteoric rise of the gold price. Golden products will still take a good share, but to fit the price targets, the public will see more silver jewelry plated with gold, providing the same luxurious look at a significant discount. Silver retail investment is not expected to grow and has had a significant drop in demand, especially in the USA, where it is believed to be about a 40% decline. The reason for investment in precious metals has not dissipated since the U.S. debt crisis remained. The election of Trump to the presidency in the USA has given some comfort to the public that the U.S. will regain control of its spending and debts, and this is why we have been seeing the recent price declines in silver and gold. On the other hand, the silver exchange-traded products have had significant inflows of close to 8% year-over-year. As the market Moret knows, these investments are typically very sticky and do not represent a threat to the market supply structure at current price levels. Mining and recycled supply of the metal is not meeting current overall demand. Metals Focus expects this deficit to remain for the next few years. Well, from my point of view, the fundamentals support healthy demand that will not be going away anytime soon. This I call the most basic market support factor. Then you must consider inflation, the global debt crisis, the currency wars BRICS, and the unknown gold is the leading indicator for these factors. And though it has suffered a significant price correction since the elections from the short-term high of its prospects, this exuberance and expected relief from mismanagement of the USA's economy will be short-lived as the problems built up over recent decades will not disappear. In my estimation, these price dips represent a real opportunity to build a safety net that will work to offset future weakness in the US currency and economy. Now we'll show you more clips, but first smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our recaps. Enjoy the episode.
Strategy up 13.5% on the week, continues to borrow money to buy Bitcoin. But look, Senator Loomis came out and she's introducing, her bill for the U.S. government to buy Bitcoin, 1 million Bitcoin, and pay for it by selling gold. I mean, what an asinine trade to make on behalf of the American public. I mean, if this actually ever happened, if this bill was actually passed and signed into law, and the U.S. Treasury was actually dumb enough to sell off America's gold to buy 1 million Bitcoin, first of all, it would cost a lot more than they think, because that buying would drive the price of Bitcoin way up, which is exactly what the Bitcoin community wants in return for their support. After all, we helped elect you. We donated to your campaign. We voted for you. Now it's time to pay us, right? That was the quid pro quo. We helped put you into office and you make us rich by sticking the American taxpayer with a pile of worthless Bitcoin. I mean, that would be the worst thing. Fortunately, I don't think that bill is ever going to make it to the president's desk, so he won't have to veto it. But I think if it did get to his desk, which is not going to happen, he would veto it. I don't think he's that bad. I don't think that he would really sell out his country to that degree. Sure, he'll take the Bitcoiner money to get elected, and he'll say what he needs to say to get their votes. That's par for the course in American politics. But when it comes down to it, he wouldn't do that to his country. He wouldn't do that to Americans. Imagine Americans who never bought any Bitcoin being the bag holders because the government buys it with their money, enriching a few people that bought these Bitcoins and were able to unload them on the U.S. taxpayer, who had no choice in the matter, right? He wasn't buying. It was some politicians that were spending other people's money to reward their campaign donors and voters. And I'm sure what would happen as the U.S. government was dumping Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin and selling gold, the Bitcoiners, especially the whales, would be selling the government their Bitcoin and then buying the gold that the government was selling from the government. They would be doing the opposite trade. They would be ringing the cash register with a big smile on their face, knowing that they were sticking the taxpayer with this hot potato, whatever. Because when the government was finished buying, that would be it. I mean, it would crash. The stuff is so nonsensical. I put out a post on X. It's all sarcasm, right? I'm making fun of all this because there was another little company that came out. It's a penny stock. It was like 40, 50 cents a share. Total market cap of about 12 million or so, and it announced that it's going to be buying $120 million worth of Bitcoin. Well, how is this tiny little company going to buy $120 million worth of Bitcoin? The whole company's only worth 12 million. Well, it's going to sell stock and raise money and go buy Bitcoin. And what do you know? The stock more than doubled on the news, right? It was jumped up and up again after hours. Like, it's all insanity, right? It's now officially like the Bitcoin bubble. But anyway, so I decided to write this sarcastic post on X where I proposed a plan to save Social Security. Because I said, Social Security is insolvent. It's got, according to the government actuaries, it's got about a $23 trillion unfunded liability over the next 75 years. That's not even close to accurate. It's actually much higher than that. But if you believe the government's, fuzzy math, 23 trillion. I said, here's my plan. The U.S. Treasury has about, 2.7 trillion, or Social Security Trust Fund owns about 2.7 trillion of treasuries. I said, hey, just sell it and buy Bitcoin. And I said, assuming that they drive the price of Bitcoin up to 20 million a Bitcoin in the process, and they end up accumulating 25%, right, of the world's Bitcoin, right, 25% of the 21 million. The Social Security Trust Fund would have $100 trillion reserve. Solves the problem. Right now, it's actuarially sound because we have 100 trillion worth of Bitcoin. Of course, the problem is you can't send those Bitcoin out to the people who are waiting for Social Security because the grocery stores don't want Bitcoin. So it's like, what are they going to do? And so I actually proposed a plan where the Social Security Trust Fund would actually keep buying Bitcoin with all the new tax revenue to support the price, but that then they would go and take their Bitcoin to the Federal Reserve that would then credit the U.S. government with dollars that it could use to make the Social Security payments. And I said, there you go. The whole problem is solved. And you would be amazed at how many people took me seriously. And oh yeah, Peter Schiff has come around. Great idea. I mean, they can't even see the sarcasm because that's how ridiculous it is. Because Senator Loomer and, they're saying we're going to pay off the national debt with all this Bitcoin. How are we going to pay off the debt? The minute we try to sell the Bitcoin, it's going to collapse, right? It would only go up because we were buying it. And that's why so many people are buying Bitcoin now. It's interesting that Bitcoin and gold are going in the opposite direction, right? Bitcoin's been going straight up ever since Trump won, and gold's been going straight down. Again, I've said this. Bitcoin is the anti-gold. It's not digital gold because it does the opposite of whatever gold does, because it's nothing like gold. It's not a safe haven. It's not a store of value. It's a speculative asset, and people are buying it because they're speculating on the asset going up, even though the fundamentals, if it was digital gold, if it really behaved and acted like gold, it should be going down.
In today's news recap, silver dips under $30, recovers quickly. JP Morgan analyst suggests sell-off is short-term, and the debasement trade rumbles on silver prices moved under $30.